In this video, we're going to talk about how I made this simulation in Blender. We're going to talk about everything. So I'm going to import the video into Adobe After Effects because we're going to motion track it. So let's begin it. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and import this video into a new composition here. Once we import the video, now it's time to go ahead and track the camera. And by the way, I'm going to put the link to the same video in the description, so you can also check it out. I'm going to click track camera and it will start tracking the motion. I'm also going to click detail analysis because it's going to track a lot of features in the footage, because I think there is so much to track, so I'm just going to do it. And now it started tracking the motion. We need to wait for this to happen, and I'm going to pause the video. Okay, so now the tracking is done. As you can see, we have a bunch of trackers in a bunch of areas, so I'm going to go ahead and select some of it to create a solid. So I'm going to go ahead, I think that one, yeah. Just click and create solid and camera, and now as you can see we created a plan successfully. Now it's not 100% perfect, but it can work for our need because this is ocean. I can say river where water is moving, so like the motion doesn't really matter to be really perfect. So I'm gonna go ahead and select some other parts as well, so we have some, you can say, reference to put our object inside our footage. So I'm just going to select this one, right click and create solid. First left click, then right, well, let me just go ahead, create solid and camera, and first left click, then right click, then create solid and camera. Now we have so many of them. Create solid, and also this one, create solid, something like that. And now as you can see we have done this data. So now it's time to export this data into Blender. How to do it? Well, I found a script which is called export composition data to Json. You can find this script on GitHub, and I will also put the link in the description if you also want to check it out. If you go into your browser and search for composition, you can say composition data to Json. Just spell it well, Json, After Effects, enter. You can say script, yeah. So just enter this word into your browser and you will be able to get the link. So if you scroll down somewhere right there, as you can see, we got a GitHub link, which is export composition data to JSON. Just click it, and now we got the link here, and you can just download this file, and you are good to go. It's this file, so just click it and click download raw file. It will be a JSON file, and yeah, you can just install it in After Effects, and it's gonna work. And now import composition After Effects, you can say data to Blender, JSON, yeah. So also search for these. If you click the link, the first link that appears in the browser, you will be able to see the full file here. And yeah, that's the whole point. Yeah, it's here, import comp to Blender. And you will also find the link separately for the script also, and it will also show you how to install the script. And if you scroll down a little bit, you will also see the add-on to import this data into Blender. I will put the link to both of those in the description, so you can also check it out. So I'm going to go ahead in the script, export composition data to JSON, just click it, and just select a location. I'm going to go ahead and set the location that I want. I'm going to name it track so I can see it. So I'm going to go ahead and save it and click export. Yeah, that's the whole point. Select everything, go to file, you can go to scripts, export composition data, just click export, and you will be able to export the data. Okay, now it's time to import this data into Blender. So we're gonna open up Blender. First of all, I'm gonna save the file. I'm gonna name it track data. Yes, save it. Okay, so let's go ahead into Blender, and yeah, we're gonna import this data. So I'm going to go ahead into preferences, add-ons, click install from disk. And now you can look at the file that you downloaded from GitHub, from the link to install the add-on, and it's here. It's the PY file, install from disk. That's it. That's super easy. Okay, let's delete everything, and first of all, let's say set the resolution. So I'm going to go ahead to Fuji, right click and properties. Now as you can see, the resolution for the frame width and height is that, so I'm going to go ahead and set this up. And yeah, also for this one. Okay, and let's check the frame rate. I think the frame rate is good, which is 24 frames per second, and yeah, that's fine. Okay, so now if you go to File, Import, now we will be able to see this option, After Effects Composition Data. Just go ahead and import this, look at this data, and as you can see, all the data is imported into Blender. So if we just expand this, as you can see, we can click G to grab the keyframes, one frame forward. Yeah, I'm gonna set the ending to 242. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and delete the front plan because we don't need it, and also we don't need the other plan because they're just distracting. I was thinking it will help, but it's not gonna help me. So I'm gonna delete all of them and I'll just leave the first one. I'm gonna select the camera, go to camera properties, click background image, and if you click movie clip and open up, let's open up the footage. You see it, yeah? Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and increase the opacity level. If you play it, as you can see, it's not 100% perfect, but it can work for us because it's a river surface and it's always moving. That's why it will never be found by someone. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and scale this thing up, and I'm gonna change the transfer to local, and yeah, that's okay. Now it's time to align it perfectly on the location where we want the fluid and all the stuff to happen. So I'm gonna go ahead and scale it up. Yeah, I think it's not a perfect location for it. So I'm gonna go to File and save the file. I'm gonna name the file to Product VFX and save Blender file. That's it. Let's select the plane and scale it up. Let me just move it on Z and then scale it up a little bit. And I'm gonna move it towards Z axis. Maybe I can scale it a little bit. And yeah, okay, that's fine. Yeah, it's not 100% perfect. I'm not claiming that, but it can work. It can work for us, so we don't really care about it. I'm gonna go ahead and scale it a little bit down. Maybe I can move it. Okay, so what I'm gonna do, yeah. If we go into wireframe, this is what it is. Okay, I'm just trying to find a best location for it, and I'm also recording everything. I'm not gonna cut. I'm gonna go ahead and save the file. Let's go ahead and download the 3D model. I will put the link to the same model. I found this on Turbo Sketchweb, but it's done by Turbo, and download the 3D model. Let's go ahead and download the blend file. So it will start downloading it, and as you can see, it's downloading. It's very small file, so we don't really care about the geometry because it's just 5.8 MB, which means that it's really small and we will not have a longer render time. Okay, so let's go ahead. When I downloaded the model, as you can see, it's here, and I'm gonna open the model up and see what it has for me. So when I open the model, as you can see, it's perfectly textured and I love it. I love it. Like, it's amazing. It's very detailed. So I'm going to go ahead, select both the model, and I'm going to hit Control J to join them. Yeah, that's looking good. That's looking freaking good. Yeah, love it. You can join them by hitting Control J. Okay, Control C, copy the object. Let's move on into the other blend file. Control V and paste the file. If I select the file, as you can see, it's up here. I'm going to select the plane, Shift S, cursor to selected, then select the object, Shift S, selection to cursor to just snap the object to there. And yeah, let's scale it up a little bit. Yeah, that's looking good. I'm gonna move it into the center maybe. I'm trying to move it a little bit. I'm also gonna move it just a bit, not so much. Okay. Now that's looking good. Let me just scale it down just a tad, not so much. Just move it to wherever you want. It's totally up to you. I'm gonna set the visibility. Okay, so first of all, let's change the render to cycles because EV is not good. So let's change the device to GPU, turn on denoise under world properties, create environment texture, click open. I'll put the link to the HDRI I'm using in this video. You can also use it. It's really amazing. It's free from Polyhaven. And if you go ahead to render film, and we can click transparent, let's save the file. And let's open up a new window, go to shader editor, let's close up this one, let's open up world and select the texture, Control T to open up mapping and texture coordinate node. Okay, so now it's not directing the right direction, so I'm gonna go ahead and set the Z rotation to 180, and I think that's fine. And okay, so I'm gonna turn off the floor and X and Y on the overlays so we don't really see them. I'm going to select the object under object properties, under visibility. I'm going to set this to shadow catcher. Yeah. Okay, that's looking good. And let me just extend these objects. So I'm going to go into edit mode, into edge selection. I'm going to select these and hit G and X axis. And now this one also G and maybe you can say Z axis like that. Yeah, that's looking good. I like it. So, what we need to do to make it perfect, to make it good, okay? I'm just thinking about it. Okay, that's looking good. Under color management, I can play around with the view transform to try different sort of colors. Filmic, I think Filmic is looking good. And we're gonna go for Filmic. And I'm gonna select the object when we move it down. Yeah, that's looking good. I love it. I like it. I like it. So I'm gonna go ahead into solid mode. Let's save the file. Okay, so I look for parachute model. I found this on Sketchfab by Zeneric, and I think this was a great model. It was totally free, and I love it. I will also put the link to it. It had some default animations, but maybe I don't use it, but it was an amazing model. I love it. Thank you, Zeneric, for the 3D model. I will put the link to it. You can also download it because it's free. Yeah, let's download the 3D model and download the FBX format, and okay. Yeah, that's looking good. So now it started downloading. My internet is not really fast, so it's gonna take some time to download. I'm gonna go and import this model into Blender. It's right here. So I'm gonna go into File, Import, click FBX. So just go ahead and look at the source file. It's right here. And if you click slash, we will be able to go to local view because it's very tiny. So I'm gonna click slash to go into the local view, but it has so many empties. I don't like them. I didn't like the animation though. Oh, sorry. So I'm gonna delete the character because I don't need it. Let's select the character and the parachute, and yeah, just delete all the empties because I don't really need them. I just need the parachute model here, and I think this is the only thing I have. Let's delete this one also. And if you click the parachute and click slash again, we will be able to scale it up. Let's scale this up so we get the perfect size for it. So yeah, I'm gonna save the file because saving the file is like saving your life. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and move it. Yeah, I moved the product a little bit upward because it will be coming from the up axis. And okay, let's select both of them and hit Ctrl P to parent the parachute to the 3D model. Let's go ahead and click I on the 3D model to animate this. Let's move it down again. And yeah, let's just slightly rotate it and click I to add another keyframe on frame number 112. Let's move it a little bit down and slightly move it to that direction. Click I again. Let's move it, rotate it and move it down onto Z axis and click I. And let's just go ahead. Okay, I think that's really fast. I'm gonna move it a little bit far away from it. Maybe I can slightly rotate it. Click I. Yeah, that's looking good. Okay, yeah, that's looking fucking. Oh, sorry, that's looking good. Yeah, I like it. You can just be creative with it. I'm gonna move it a little bit down and click I. Slightly rotate it to continue the animation. It must not be just still animation, but just slightly add a little bit of rotation into it to add a little bit of motion. And yeah, that's looking good. That's looking good. I love it. Yeah. Okay. So if you play it, this is how it looks like. Okay, so let's just go ahead. I'm just looking at the animation. Sorry for that, but that's my habit. I'm gonna select the parachute model, save it. Okay, now it's time to fix the parachute. So first of all, let's go into edit, wireframe, and select all those vertices. If you go into vertex group, assign this vertex group into it. And if you select the plane here, go to solid and go into physics and add collision into it. Let's add a cloth into parachute and let's set the simulation start to 146. And I'm gonna set the pin group to group and the self collision. If you play it, it doesn't look good because it doesn't really. We need to fix it. Like there is so much need to fix up because. As you can see, the parachute is actually broken up. It's because some of the vertices are not joined together and they're just separated from one another. We need to fix that. So let's go ahead. I'm just playing around, but I have to fix the parachute model because it doesn't really good. It's it was broken down into some pieces. I think it was made for games. That's why it wasn't like a perfect one, but I can fix it. So let's click slash to go its local view, so we can edit this separately. And yeah, that's how it is. I think if we just merge them together by hitting M, it will merge some vertices. Click M by distance. Select. I think if you play it, yeah, it doesn't look good. Like it's just doing its thing. So I'm gonna select this one and come up to invert. Click M. Just merge them together by distance, so we don't have space between them. I'm gonna set the merge distance to 0.003, so like so many of them will be deleted. But again, it have the same issue that we had before, and I think we need to find a genius solution for this thing to work, because I think it's not working right now. So I'm gonna go into modifier. Let's use some modifiers. I'm going to turn off the cloth. I'm going to add a deciment modifier. I think deciment is not going to work. I'm going to add a remesh modifier. I think if I add a remesh modifier, it's going to blow up my laptop. I think this is bad. Yeah, I think I'm dying. Yeah, I'm really shit. It's not working. It's not working. The remesh is not working. We need another solution for this problem. So I think I'm gonna set. Oh no. It's stuck. It's stuck. I need to delete the remesh to fix the problem, because I need to. And let's apply it and see if we get anything better. But if we don't, we're gonna delete it. Okay. Right now it doesn't look good because it's deleted some geometry. I'm thinking about the solution. What could be the solution to it? A Control Z, let's say reset and delete the remesh again. Okay, so now if we just go ahead and what I can do here, maybe, I don't know. I don't really know. Okay. So let's go ahead and add a modifier, and let's a weld modifier. I found the solution, guys. So if we increase the distance of the weld modifier, we will be able to adjust them. And yeah, and as you can see, the cloth is working perfectly. And this is what we wanted. Weld modifier is working. Like, this is my first time in my life that I'm using a weld modifier. I didn't knew it's gonna work, but it worked. Let's set the simulation start to 113. And let's add a force field here. It's going to be a wind. Yeah, a wind here. I'm going to scale it up so I can see it. I'm going to move it. I'm going to rotate it on x-axis. I'm going to increase the strength of it to 64. If you play the simulation, as you can see, it's falling like that. We need another force field from the top axis also. And yeah, I'm going to duplicate. I'm going to rotate it on x-axis. I'm going to move it a little bit up. Move it a little bit into y-axis, and if you play the simulation, okay, that's looking good. Yeah, that's what we wanted. That's looking good. I love it. I like it. So after that, we're gonna fix some other stuff. We're gonna add some simulation, some fluid. Okay, so first let's fix the material. I'm gonna go into object. Let's delete everything. Select the principal, hit Ctrl Shift and T, and select the texture for the parachute model. And yeah, that's looking good. Okay. If we go into modifier, let's add, let's bake the simulation first for the cloth simulation of the parachute. Then we're going to go to modifier. We're going to add a modifier and a subdivision modifier. And let's add a solidify modifier as well to add a little bit of thickness into it. And I think that's looking good. Yeah. Okay, that's looking good. Let's go into render and see what we got here. And I think that's looking good. Okay, so I think if you click slash, go into its original thing, and let's go ahead and select, maybe I can click E to extrude, and this one to extrude here. And let me just move it a little bit forward, and let's select another vertex here. Click F to fill in the gap. And I'm gonna go into cloth settings, and let's delete the back. Let's click select. I think I need to remove these. I think select these and these vertices and click remove from the group, so they're not a pinning group. Yeah, that's looking good. I'm gonna go into cloth settings, delete the back, and click back again to back the simulation because I changed some stuff. And let's do this. Okay, so it's happening right now. If we go into render, let's click slash again to go out of the... Okay, yeah, that's looking good. Yeah, I think that's look fine. Okay, I think there is another material which is not added, so I'm gonna go ahead and delete it. I'm gonna set the color to be red color like that. Yeah, that's looking good for... Let's save the file, and let me just go ahead and delete the back. I think I need to move it a little bit down. Yeah, I think that will be fine. Click back again to back the simulation because we changed the position of the parachute. And okay, let's go. Okay, so right now it's not orienting on the right direction. We need to fix it for fluid simulation, so I'm gonna add an empty cube. I'm gonna move it towards y-axis. I'm gonna scale it on y-axis like that. I'm gonna go ahead and select another empties. Click this one, then control and select this one and these, all of the empties. Then the first of all, I think we need to hide. Select all the empties and then select the cube that we added. Hit Control P and set it to parent. Yeah, and now we can rotate everything by just this cube, and I need to move it up a little bit somewhere right here. If we zoom in on these, we can see the plan. Maybe we can slightly rotate it. Try to match it with the horizontal line of y-axis. So right here, I think maybe slightly move it up, and I think that's looking good. Okay, let's select the parachute model, go into cloth simulation, click delete back and back again because we changed the location of it. Let's turn on the wind again and click back the simulation for the cloth because the wind was turned off. And right now it's backing the simulation. Let's wait for this to happen. After simulation, we're gonna create some fluid in it, and we're gonna see what we can make here. Okay. Yeah, I think that's looking good. Okay, that's fine. Yeah, the orientation is perfect. The cloth simulation is not really perfect, but we can change it later on. But right now, it's time to create some fluid here, because fluid is very important. Okay, so let's go into render. Go into solid. Let's save the file. Okay, so now it's time to create some fluid. First of all, let's hide other object, like parachute and other. We just left with the plane here and also the bottle. Shift A and create a cube. Let's scale it up. Let's go into x-axis, go into wireframe. Let's move it up a little bit, and maybe we can slightly move it down like that. Let's scale it on z-axis. Let's move it slightly down, scale it on z. Maybe we can just do it like that, and maybe we can just move it a little bit into this. Click S and Shift Z. Just try to be accurate with it because we don't really want a very big domain object. Let's hit Control A and apply the scale. Okay, so I think that's looking good. Maybe slightly on X and Y. Let's hit Control A and apply the scale. Shift D, scale it on Z axis and slightly move it down to here. And slightly scale it on z-axis. Now zoom in on these and try to be accurate with it. Yeah, that's looking good. Let's scale it slightly down on X and Y. Go into solid. Let's go ahead and hide the domain object so we can see. Yeah, I think that's looking good. Okay. So if you go ahead and do wireframe, let's select both of them, hit Control A and apply the scale to it because it's important. Okay, so let's select the bottle object here and we're gonna go into slash to its local view. Let's create a cylinder object. It is going to be an effector for the fluid, so I'm gonna go and scale it to X and Y. Let's slightly move it into X-axis just a bit. Right click, shadow mode. Maybe you can scale it on Y-axis. Just move it a little bit down. Yeah, that's looking good. And go into scale in X and Y axis. Go into edit mode, select the down face and click E and extrude. Let's scale it down. Click E, scale it down. Just slightly move it down. Just a bit. And let's go ahead and see what we get here. So I'm gonna go ahead and click E to extrude it upward. And I think that's looking good. Just try to trace your object around and see what we get here. Just making the rough shape of the bottle because it's going to be a collision object. We don't want it to be high quality. It's just a very basic shape and it's going to work as a collision object for the perfume bottle. I'm just trying to model it roughly. It's not going to be really accurate, but you can just go crazy with it. Yeah. Okay, so let's parent this to the other object by hitting Control P. So the proxy object will follow our main object, which is nice. So let's go and select the cube, add a fluid, and add a domain into it. Change the type to liquid. And yeah, let's select the other object, add a fluid. It's going to be a flow, and change this type to liquid, and set this to geometry. Yeah. Let's add a fluid into it as well, and let's add a factor. Okay. Let's select the domain object. Under frame start, I'm gonna set this to 135, and yeah, that's looking good. I'm just going to solid. If we play the video, let's see how it looks like. Okay, so as you can see, the fluid is going to one side. It's because we have a bunch of force field added. Let's turn off all to 0, and now we will have a static amount, static sort of fluid going on. So let's set the frame start to 130, and let's go ahead. Yeah. Okay, so let's play it again. And as you can see, now it looks like that. Okay, that's very low poly, but shed smooth. Okay, so let's go ahead into the resolution division and set this to 64, so we have a little bit of resolution into it. Now if you look at these, as you can see, it's a little bit better now. And yeah, I think that's looking good. But maybe we can just play around with the resolution. Maybe we can add some motion into it, and yeah. Okay, so let me just go ahead and set these to something like that. Okay, I'm just trying to find a best. Okay, so if I just go ahead and make the impact a little bit higher. So I'm gonna select the proxy object, hit I to add a keyframe. When it touches the ground, let's move it on Z-axis extremely, something like that, and hit I again. Now select the first keyframe, and we're going to duplicate it. Select this one, Shift D, move it, and just place it here. Now it's going to work. So if you reset the simulation and play it, as you can see now it's making some impact, and as you can see now some fluid going up, and this is what we wanted. And if we increase the resolution for the fluid, it's going to look good, but right now it's very low poly, as you can see, low resolution, so that's why it doesn't look really good. But if we increase the resolution for the fluid, it's gonna look good. And okay, as you can see, it's looking like that. Right now it's playing very slow because it's fluid simulation and it's not really fast in the viewport, but I think that's looking good. And yeah, just select the domain object and go into wireframe. Let's select the other object also and go into solid. I think I need to move it a little bit, maybe just slightly down, not so much, just a tad. And now what we need to do, we're gonna reset the animation. Let's play it again. And yeah, I think that looked good, and this is what we wanted. Yeah, that's looking good. Okay, so I don't know. Yeah, select the fluid object, let's save the file, and just go ahead, and maybe we can hide the other object, the shadow catcher. Let's set the resolution to something like 200 maybe, because I think it's gonna work perfectly. Let's set the type to all, so we're gonna back everything. Let's click is resumable, and I'm gonna save the file, and let's go ahead and click back all. I'm gonna click it, but before we click it, I'm gonna go into particles. I'm gonna turn on spray and bubbles, so we also have some sort of uh, splash coming out of it. And I baked it, so that's what I got here. If you go into render view, as you can see, this is how it looks like. Let's add it a new material. It's going to be gloss maybe. If you set the roughness to 0, this is how it looks like. Okay. Okay, so first of all, what I'm going to do, I'm going to select the main object, and I'm going to create a new icosphere with the division of 1, and I'm going to slightly move it down so we don't see it in the 3D. As you can see, I'm going to add a new material with the white color, and I'll slightly change in the alpha maps, just a bit, not so much. Select the object and go into particle system. Now we're going to select the spray, and under render, let's set this to object, and it's going to take some time. Select the object as the icosphere to make spray, or you can say splashes. And if you zoom in on these, as you can see, we got some splashes going on. I'm going to turn off the other particle system because they're just making the viewport very slower. And maybe I can turn off the overlay so I can perfectly see the splashes going on. Yeah, I think that's looking good. And maybe I can just slightly zoom in, make the scale randomness to all the way up to 1. On my system, it's very slow, but I don't know about yours. Mine is a shit system, that's why it's gonna take some time. Let's set the scale down a little bit, just a bit, not so much. Yeah, I think that's looking good. Okay. Yeah, I think that's fine. Let's turn this off. In the viewport, let's turn on some foam and select the foam here. And this is how our foam looks like. I'm gonna set the scale down and also the scale randomness to 1. Before we add the object, I'm gonna set this to object, and I'm gonna add the icosphere as the main object. And as you can see, on the surface of the fluid, there is some foam appearing, and I'm gonna go ahead and set this a little bit up. Now, as you can see, there's some problem, very uniform foam. It's because the resolution isn't that much. That's why if you increase the resolution to 500 for the fluid, it's gonna look really good. But for my system, I'm gonna set it down. Okay, so if you go into render view, this is how our fluid looks like. I think I'm gonna delete the gloss shader. I'm gonna add a principal shader. So I'm gonna also add a principal BSDF and connect this to surface. Set the roughness to 0, transmission to 1. And what I'm going to do, I'm gonna add a transparent shader here. I'm gonna go ahead and search for gradient texture, and I'm gonna hit Ctrl T to view this, and I'm gonna change this to spherical. I'm gonna click Ctrl T here to open up mapping and texture coordinate. I'm gonna move the sphere to a center. I'm gonna change those value accordingly. You can see them to perfectly align this to a center of the fluid. Now, as you can see, we're gonna move it a little bit up on the z-axis to also cover up all the fluid that is coming out. And I'm gonna try to change the value. I'm not sure what value works best, but you can see what I'm changing. And I'm gonna set this one a little bit higher. Maybe I can, yeah. Okay, that's looking good. And maybe I can slightly move it. It's a little bit down there. I don't need it to be down there. Just decrease the Z value here. And yeah, we have isolated the fluid, and we can now add a mix shader, connect the gradient to the factor, connect the top and the bottom to the principal and the transparent. Right now it doesn't work. I'm gonna invert these together. And as you can see, now the fluid is successfully eliminated from the other scene. And if we turn on the shadow catcher, I'm gonna go ahead and under shadow catcher, I'm gonna turn this on. As you can see, now we just have left with the fluid. on top of the fluid surface, and everything else is isolated and it's been removed. Okay, and I think that's looking good. Maybe, yeah. Okay, yeah. Now it's time to set the color. I'm gonna grab the eyedropper and set this to the ocean color. Okay, so when it moves, it's actually making some cool splashes, and this is what we wanted. Let's save the file. Let's turn on foam to see them. Oh, I think the scale is very big. So I'm gonna go ahead and set the scale to 0.03 for the foam. Now we have a reasonable scale. And if you look at the spray, oh, I think I can't turn them on at once because it's gonna blast my laptop. Okay, so if we turn on, let me just save the file first. Okay, so maybe I can now just go ahead and make some collection. So we have, I'm gonna go ahead and move it to a new collection. The shadow catcher, I'm gonna name it a shadow by hitting M, and I'm gonna click create, and it's going to create its own shadow catcher. I'm gonna duplicate it. Maybe I don't need it. So we have a shadow catcher here. I'm gonna go ahead. Maybe I'm gonna hit Control Z. I'm gonna select the whole thing and click M, new collection, and I'm gonna move it to shadow. Okay, create, and it will create a new collection for us, as you can see. And now it's time to do some compositing. So I'm gonna go ahead and Shift D to duplicate. Click M, new collection is going to be reflection collection. Create, and as you can see, now we have shadow and reflection. If we just go ahead and turn on those filter, the holdout and also the indirect, and name this layer a main layer. Okay, so I'm actually trying to create some reflection. So I'm going to turn off reflection for this collection by hitting this button, and yeah, and leave the other collection. I'm going to click this button and click new to add a new collection, to add a new layer, sorry. And now it's time to go ahead and turn off everything except the reflection. So I'm going to go ahead and click this indirect and hold out for other collection, turn them off, and I will just leave reflection for this collection, okay? And I actually turn off the main collection as well. So if we go into reflection here and go into render, I'm going to select the reflection object. I'm going to turn off the shadow catcher, and I'm going to go into material. I'm going to create a new material, set the reflection to 0, roughness to 0, and I'm gonna go ahead. Yeah. I'm going to set this to a very dark color, and actually I'm going to grab this color to here. I'm going to slightly make it darker. Yeah, that's looking good. And okay, so let's make it a little bit darker so we can see reflection here. So now it's time to create the river. You can say the river shadow. So I'm going to click Shift A. I'm going to create a noise texture. I'm going to connect these with a bump node with the height and connect the normal to normal. If we increase the roughness as well, the detail level, we will be able to replicate the ocean shadow. And yeah, that's looking good. We get some ripple here, and this is what we wanted. Okay, so I'm gonna go into solid, and I'm gonna name this view layer to reflection. And for this layer, I'm gonna save it. I'm gonna go into compositing, click the use node. So we got this two node here. I'm gonna Shift D, duplicate this view layer and change this to reflection. And if you come to reflection, go into view layer, and I'm going to turn on direct and indirect glossiness so we can isolate the reflection. I'm going to add a movie clip, and I'm going to select the main movie clip here. I'm going to go ahead and connect it with the mix shader. I'm going to search for Shift A, color, mix, and mix color. I'm going to connect these two shader together. I'm going to change these to add shader, and I'm going to connect the glossy indirect to it. I'm going to go ahead and create an alpha over node. I'm going to connect the image to the bottom one and the top one to the top, and connect the image. Right now we don't see anything, but we did all the work that we need to do to make reflection real, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and save the file, and let's go ahead and set the mix samples to something like 40 for now. You can make it higher if you want. Yeah, everything's fine. Let's go ahead and click render and render the image. Let's see what we get here. It's gonna take some time to render. Oh, I didn't turn off the flow object, so I'm gonna go ahead to main layer, and under collection, flip it. We got this is the main cube, and I'm gonna turn off this cylinder and cube, and let's save the file. Click render and render the image. Let's wait for this to happen, and it's going to take some time, but you gotta wait for this. Right now the main layer is rendering out. After that, the reflection layer will be rendered out, and we will composite this together to make a nice and a beauty render. Yeah, it's called a beauty render. Let's wait for this to happen and see the magic. Okay, yeah, it's rendering, but yeah, it's very boring, but let's wait for this to happen. Now it's rendering, everything's fine. Now it's rendering the reflection layer, only reflection, and it will extract those reflection and add those to the main shader, or you can say main composite. Okay, so let's wait for these to render out and see what it is. Yeah, that's looking good. We got reflection here, we got all the fluid. So guys, thanks for watching. If you want to get the same content, you can just hit the subscribe button, and yeah, you can share with your friend. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.